The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on computing and geography with me, Tim Wilson, as your host, and our fantastic speaker, Richard Smith. So a little bit about me. I'm the CAS Community Outreach Manager for the Midlands, and I'm responsible for the regional growth and delivery of the Community at School Computing at School Community of Practice programme as part of the National Centre for Computing Education. And this webinar is the latest in our CAS Inspire series, which is a series of resources consisting of webinars with expert panelists such as Richard discussing topical computing education matters in which you, the audience, can get involved. CAS Inspire also features videos and podcasts and careers inspiration webinars all around the wonderful subject of computing. So we have a very action-packed webinar, and I'll introduce Richard in a mo. All attendees, so all of you, will be in listen-only mode. So if you have questions or comments for Richard during the session, please use the question window on the right-hand side of your screen to ask questions. I'll be moderating your questions and will be on hand to field them to Richard at various intervals throughout the session today. The top of the window on your dashboard has an orange rectangle, so depending on your taste, this can be expanded or collapsed. If you want to follow Richard's presentation, the slides are available to download in the handout section during this session, and we will also forward these slides to you after we finish, well, probably tomorrow, but we will forward these slides to you in a follow-up email as well. Finally, if you're using social media, the hashtag for the event is CASInspire20, and please include Richard's handle, which is Amazing ICT, and my own handle, which is CAS Midlands, in your tweets if you are a Twitter person like Richard and I both are. I will put these handles and I will be sharing links and lots of other things in the chat throughout the session today. So on to our speaker, Richard. If you don't know Richard, he's been running his own company, Amazing ICT, now for 10 years, over 10 years. He is a very busy guy. He works in 8 different schools a week. He supports students with both computing and also e-safety. And at the moment, he's delivering remote lessons in about 6 schools a week and provides training for student teachers. He also runs the Telford Mixed CAS community. And as you're about to find out, he absolutely loves the creative side of his job, and I hope that you will get inspired by the amount of creativity on show today. So without further ado, enough from me. I will pass you over to Richard, and I really hope you enjoy the session. Richard, it's all yours.
Brilliant. Well, we've got about an hour, a bit more of an hour, to just take you through lots and lots of ideas. Most of the ideas I've done myself in school. A lot of the ideas I've actually done this week. This talk today is dedicated to my dad, Gordon, who was a teacher, and he loved geography, and he inspired me to love geography too. So without further ado, let's get on. So it was quite hard to find a definition of digital journeys. So I thought I'll write one myself. So using technology to explore places, observe things, and also to collect data. So data collection is so much easier now because you've got a number of devices that can readily capture that data and automatically transfer it into things such as spreadsheets. So this was on the news this week. On the 4th of December, the fact that they're worried that obviously ice flows are breaking off down south and up north, and you're getting some massive icebergs, and some of these, as the picture shows, have got little hollows underneath. And the bottom diagram shows the depth of the seafloor around South Georgia. So that's going to help scientists to monitor what's going on and the amount of ice in terms of the depth of the water and the landmass. So it's just a context to show actually that the stuff we're talking about today is very real, and it can inform the news, it can inform us, and it can also change our opinions in terms of what we believe in. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little starter, and it involves thinking about the power of technology. So what I'd like you to do is to just search for randomstreetview.com. Tim will put it in the chat as well. And then I'm going to ask you to choose a country that you would like to visit. And it's going to take you to that place. And then you just keep clicking on next until you find a view that you think sums up that country. So the example I'm using is Greece. So I've never been to Greece, but for me, there'd be lots of roads that are quite near the sea, and with some beautiful views. And as in this case, as well as sand, there'd be lots of forests, and it would be quite dry there. So what I'm going to do is give you about 2 minutes, just as a starter, to have a little look at that and just to explore a country that you'd love to go to. As you're doing it, just think about how all this is possible. Maybe think about where all this data is stored, how it's been collected. So hopefully you were thinking lots of stuff there. First of all, it might have been on a level of geography, like this would be really interesting if we were teaching something about a particular continent. Or it might be about storytelling. What would it be like if somebody was walking down that road, perhaps on their own, and they were on an adventure and they didn't know where they were? So what we're going to do next is we're going to link this with some more formal computer science. So what I'd like you to do is, if you've got that window open, is just to use your right-hand mouse button. If you've got an iPad, you won't be able to do it, or a tablet. And I want you to try and click Inspect Page. Not View Page source, Inspect Page. And what you should get is it should split the page in half. And this will start to let you see how that page is made up. So it's likely to be created using HTML, hypertext markup language. And the nice thing is that you can actually edit this text. So you can scroll through and you can edit it just in real time. So let me try Ads by Google. Let's just try clicking on that and seeing if I can edit that. So I'll just put computing at school. And press enter. Now, what will happen on some sections is, as in this example, it will change the text in real time. So you're almost editing a web page in real time. And children actually love doing that. So if you look on my screen now, it says KS Impact Session. And then when I pressed enter, it says KS Impact Session. So the children are editing the HTML code. And for some children, that's a really easy way in to seeing how a web page works. Now, that is not something that I would do with primary school children. I would tend to do that with secondary school children. So with primary school children, I would start with this link down the bottom here, which I'm sure Tim will put into the chat, W3 Schools. So W3 Schools allows you very simply to create your own web page. So what we've got here is it says H1 there. This is a heading. So if I put, let's pretend I'm doing a story place that based on the earth I've just written. So I could put day in the wilderness. So I'm just typing that in there, and then when I click on run, it'll come up there. So I found that this is really powerful in showing children not only how a web page works, but also getting them to think of creating something in a different way. So not creating a poster, not doing it on Word as a word process document, you're doing it as an HTML web page. And you can even share those pages, so you can save it and you can share it. So what you can do is you can see, hopefully, a page that I've shared. It will just go back to the beginning, so I just need to move down. So this one, Tim, down the bottom, should be a page that I did and saved, just as an example. So it might be worth thinking about, in the new term, in the spring term, thinking about creating a web page to do with a travel destination in geography. Please ask questions in the chat, and I will stop now and again, and then Tim can ask me the question. So just to recap, it was a right click on the web page, and it was view, inspect, and then try editing little bits. Get the children interested in the fact it happens in real time. However, can I just add, that would not be saved. As soon as you refresh the page at the top, it would go to the server where the web page was stored and get the original. But it just is interesting because temporarily the children can edit a real web page. And then down the bottom is the W3 Schools one that we use in primary.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Can you save code written in W3 Schools to work on over a number of lessons? If not, what would you suggest?
Well, what I usually suggest is that the children have a Word document and then they save that link as in the Word document, so they've got a record of it, and then the next lesson they can go back and load it and then continue with it. So you can continue with it. So let me just show you that's true. So if we go down to the one here, that should open it. And then if I run it, it should say my drive down the coast road. So then I would change it again. So I could do some writing here, say, and then I would save it again. Now it will come up with a new URL at the top. It'll be a different one this time. And then you would copy and paste that to Word. So you've got a record. It's quite useful for you as a teacher to show the process. So it could be lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and even on the Word document, you could ask them for their thoughts about how they came up with those ideas. So that's the way of doing that. I must just give my colleague Paul Gerry a shout out, because he's done loads of this, especially with eSafety. During eSafety week in February, he'll get them to do web pages instead of posters. So that's a great site. And also on here, there's other languages. So there's like Java, JavaScript. So it's something where you can actually get children interested, and then they can get skills that will get for the future, will get them a job. So it's a win-win situation. So the way I work is to start with some physical journeys, because obviously the random place, random street view is very abstract. So this is a school that I was working in last week, and these are reception children, and we're doing a little journey. So the way I designed it was you had to avoid the cat, and then you had to find some cheese. Now I really like that picture because the little boy is just thinking about what there. So though he's not pressing any buttons, you can see that there's some sort of thought process going on. So just for you to think, and you don't need to put this in the chat, it's just for you to reflect really. What might they be talking about? How might the adult support discussion linked to journeys? So no need to put it in the chat, just have a little think. So the role of the adult and what might the children be talking about, because we want them to talk about this lesson, we want them to talk about the equipment and about the situation. Now this idea came from the teacher of the class. It wasn't my idea. They said, what about recording journeys? So can you see they've just taped a pen to the little robot mouse, and now it's actually recording where it's gone. And obviously the children absolutely love that. So it doesn't have to be high tech. You know, you don't have to buy an expensive robot with a pen or already attached. You can use your ingenuity, and often that's what children will remember, especially if the ideas come from somebody else in the class. Now there is a barefoot link which Tim will put into the chat. And I'm really delighted because I do a number of barefoot talks, and there's a free workshop about camels chatting, which is brilliant. But recently they've put some stuff for early years, and when you get the PDF, that you can have a proper look at that. There's a poster, there's some lessons, and there's one lesson I noticed about journeys. So there's a lesson there about some boats, and you can actually talk about the journey that the boats take. And there's lots of unplugged activity. By unplugged, I mean you're not using a tablet or a laptop. It's making things and thinking about the process of making things, and key words like sequences. So you might have a sequence of instructions to make your boat float. Right, this slide there's 3 pictures for you to look at. I really like the 2 on the right because it's almost like free play. So remember, these are reception students. So early years reception, you need to give them some freedom. And you can see they've got their mice there and they're making stuff. Now, we need to test that bridge. There might be a problem with that bridge. And I tend to use the word debug. So we're going to debug our solution, if you like, because that's a word that we tend to use in computing. Both for primary and secondary. And in fact, in jobs, people that work in the computer industry say, oh, we've got to debug the code, or there are a number of bugs in the code. So that little mouse did not go through the bridge. And in a way, I think that's good, because then the children have to think about how they're going to solve that problem. Are they going to get another blue block at the top and link them up? Or are they just going to try and put the bricks? It wouldn't be as stable, but they could put them one to the side perhaps. So they, so it sort of leaned, it was balanced across the top. So there's lots of problem solving and links with other subjects there as well. I used to be a secondary maths teacher, so I tend to, if given the chance, come back to maths. So I couldn't resist making them this little maths box out of an old crate from the greengrocer. Now, you do need to, when you're planning these out, know the distance travelled. So these robot mice travel 12.5 centimetres each move, whereas Cubetto and Bebot go 15 centimetres. So you've got to do a little bit of pre-planning. And the robot mice are about £28 each. And I like it because they've got magnetic noses. So if two of the mice actually bang into each other, it makes a noise. So there's some great science there. Now you can buy a maths pack, and it's down the bottom there. So you just type code and go robot mouse math pack. It's a bit of a mouthful. But I tend to make stuff because you're going to have a lot of this stuff around the classroom. And it's great to ask the children other things they could make. So, and also environmentally, you don't necessarily want loads of plastic being purchased and brought into school. So could you just add some little ideas about journeys into the chat, just based on those previous 3 slides? So any thoughts? Perhaps some of you work with early years or reception. Oh, I forgot to say, I made a little hole at the bottom because part of the journey was to go to some particular numbers and then head back into this mouse hole. So you can make the best of cardboard is it's more flexible, whereas if you tend to buy stuff like this, you know, you're limited by the designer who's made the kit. So a bit of chat about journeys with very young children.
Got loads coming through. Whilst they come in, I have a question. What are the main differences? I think you've explained in terms of the distances with Cubetto and Cubetto, etc. What are the main differences between the Bebot and the mouse? This teacher is...
Yeah, that's it, 12.5 centimetres. You also get some little cards with this robot mouse. So you get some little direction cards in the kit, which are quite nice. So the children can actually plan out their route before they press the buttons. Now, I know you can just download some for Bebot as well, but they actually come in with each mouse. So I found that quite handy.
And are they rechargeable, or is it batteries only?
Those are batteries only. I'm going to come on to the difference of rechargeable and batteries. So yes, that is an issue. I have found the battery life on these to be really, really good, actually. I must admit.
So lots of good examples. So we have a shopping trip down a high street to visit different shops. Story mapping, getting the character to retell the story, such as the Jolly Postman.
Wonderful.
Using phonics instead of numbers.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's quite interesting round here. It might just be because I only took the one box in, because obviously I'm doing stuff remotely at the moment, so I have to sort of predict what they want, make it, and then take it in. However, I would love it if there was a spare, but imagine there was an empty box that had nothing written on it, and then the children came up with their ideas. So that's what really makes me happy, is when the ideas come from the children as well. So, you know, those boxes are just going to be recycled. So just grab some, and as you can see, that size worked out really well. I just had a bit of space at the end where I put mouse maths, and then made a hole in here. And obviously you could have another one the same size with another hole, and then it could go from maths world through this little hole to phonics world. So, you know, there's loads of stuff you can do in the new term.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, so these are the little the little tiles you get. So those are just cardboard. So you can buy a complete set with these little loops, and it's about £47. Just for the mouse is about 27. This comes with some cards to encourage children to work independently. So they'd make this pattern, and then they'd explore that pattern. So what I would probably do, if you've got any capital, any money, perhaps buy one of these and one or two of the ordinary mice, take some cardboard in, and then, you know, it's going to be brilliant. You're going to have such a creative time. But I certainly wouldn't buy more than one of these, because I want the children to be making stuff like that bridge there. And as I said at the bottom, consider use of plastics in our schools as well. I put a link to the school Facebook page, so if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat. Grange Park, I'm in there normally every week, and they're brilliant. And there's another link. Somebody mentioned a story. There's a link to their Billy Goat's Gruff story there as well. So if you've got a minute, just have a little look at that, and then you can comment, or you can like it and follow them, because we do something there regularly, so it's a great school to follow. I just want to link up what I've done so far with a few lesson plans, because I know that's an issue. It's the time of writing lessons. So in terms of the web, the HTML, there's a great Year 6 unit, and all you've got to do is type in "we are computing resources." I usually do it as 4 separate words, and then it should hopefully come to the right page, because it's really well used now. So it's teach computing. It doesn't actually come to the right page. It comes to the main page, and then you click on here, teaching resources, and then you go to whichever key stage you are. So I'm just going to demonstrate the Year 6 one on web page design. Scroll down, and then what you do, say I do there's Year 5, just one more. There's 6 units for each year group, and there's at least 6 lessons in each of these. So it's going to save you hours, and they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. I haven't written any, so I've got no vested interest. I did check one for somebody. And you get a unit guide, and you get a learning graph, which I found really useful. So this is something that you could use to almost use with yourself and your teaching assistant, to say, well, where are the children at the moment? Where do we want them to get to? And this would be great as a little reference document to show how much progress you've made. And then if you haven't made as much progress as you want, you can then pass that on to the teacher for the next year. Obviously this is for Year 6, but if it was a Year 5 unit, you could pass that on to the Year 6 teacher and say, well, actually, we hoped we get to here, but we didn't. So that's something to bear in mind. Anything else to add, Tim, on the NCCE stuff? Because it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. All I would say is, no matter where you're at as a teacher, whether you're new to computing, whether you're an experienced teacher, you will get stuff out of this. You will be able to adapt and use these resources as much as or as little as you need to. They are in and of their own. Those schemes of work are fabulous and free.
Yeah. And to download the full units, you do need to create a free login. So you can say I could access the learning group. I could access all these top bits, but as soon as I wanted to download a particular lesson and all the resources I do need, and the reason for that is so they can monitor how many people are using it, which certainly makes sense. Right, just let me get to the right page. And then we were going to just talk about further down in terms of lessons. The way it would work is you would need to get used to which strand you were teaching that particular term. So CS is computer science, IT is information technology, and DL is digital literacy. So today's webinar is really focused on IT, but you can see that I've already covered a little bit of computer science because I've talked about some sort of using code to write a web page, and later on I'll talk about digital literacy because we'll talk about e-safety. If you want this table, you need to download it, and it's a big book from Kaz, and you just need page 6 for this table. And I just copied and pasted it. It's really good if you're going to do a staff meeting, and there might be some staff there that actually don't know the 3 strands. And it gives you an outline of roughly what's covered within each key stage. We're going to go do a little bit more about the robots. So before I go through a few of the robots, there's a little video to watch, 1 minute 20-second video. So could you just copy and paste that in the chat, please, Tim? And then just watch that. I'll time it 1 minute 20 seconds, and then you can ask me some questions, or you can just follow when I talk about some of the robots. Please ask questions in the chat as well.
I think you're good to continue, Richard.
Okay, brilliant. So I'm delighted to say today we might be joined by Georgia, who's does some work with Cubeto, and she's a really good educator and explains things really, really well. So you'll have seen Cubeto in the video, and basically it's a lovely little wooden robot. And what I've done is I've put all the key vocabulary that I feel people in nursery need, and then some learning objectives. So you've almost got a starting point. So if you think of the robot mouse, you've got some key vocabulary and you've got a couple of learning objectives. And you can download this sheet if you want to, if you think it's going to be useful. And if you want a Word version of this, so imagine you haven't got any, I don't know, Bebop Blues, but you've got some ordinary Bebots, you could change this for your school and put your own school name on. So it allows you to do a little audit of what you've got in school. Because one thing I've noticed is a lot of schools have got stuff, they're just not using it. And then year 2, we've got the Ozobot, which follows lines. So that introduces the word sensor. And straight away, that can support journeys with driverless cars or driverless drones. And then a lot of schools are getting Lego We Do, because you can control that. Lego We Do 2 you can control with an iPad, which they like. Makes it very, very accessible. And then really, if you think about Pico, which can talk, Pico could talk about a journey that he'd been on, or could come up with some quiz questions about a particular country. So all those links are there. Most of the stuff that I do, I try and write up and give away. So, you know, just email me if you want some stuff, and I'll help you. So we've talked about Cubeto, and if you're interested in this, I did a write-up for Teaching Times about the fact that, in my view, I don't want young children necessarily using tablets too much. I want them to do physical stuff, making stuff. And as you can see in that picture with the Cubeto, you've got children with you know, pieces of plastic with RFID tags in, and they're putting them into a wooden box, and that's controlling the robot, and I think that's wonderful. So I've put the link there, Tim, if you want to add that to the chat. But it will be on your PDF anyway. One of the things I try to do is to make things easy, because I know how busy lots of people are. So what I try and do is put those learning objectives into a simple table. So this is for year 1, and you can see you've got 3 learning objectives for computer science, 5 for information technology, and 3 for digital literacy. So if you're a computing coordinator, you can just give that to the year 1 teacher and say, have a look at this, what support do you need? And they'll be so happy. And I've put all the objectives, I've rewritten them all, so they're very easy to follow. And the year 6 ones, I put them into language so that some of the children can sort of self-assess, really, because I've tried to make the language as simple as possible. You can download that. Tim will put it in the link. If you'd like an A3 version, I'll send you a big A3 version, and you can show progression then across your school from year to year. But you will have to email me for that. You can download this one off the homepage of my website. So one of the things, like every subject, it's key to develop students' vocabulary. So what I've done is I've put some of the vocabulary that I think is important to computing down there. And I'm just going to ask you about, based on the things we've talked about so far, if you just think of the first few slides, think about some of the geography terminology that you might need to get over, or some of the maths terminology. And I put a little code there. So imagine you said direction. Oh, I've given one away now. So you say direction, you think that's needed for computing, geography and maths. You just put C plus G plus M with a bracket round it to show that's a common word. Whereas some words, some vocabulary might just be common, might just be specifically for geography. So have a little go in the chat if you can think of some vocabulary for geography or maths.
Whilst attendees are posting their vocabulary, I have a question regarding Pico. Can we use the Pico software without the robot too? there is you can program the animated Pico, right? Whatever the bottom road is.
Yeah, it's run by a company called Obot, and I personally would just go on the Obot site and just drop them an email. They are very, very helpful. They're a very helpful company. They've worked with both Tim and myself to try and support computing at school events. And a lot of it they've done voluntarily. So they're a great company. So I think if I was you, I would just to be sure, go on the Obot site and go to contact. But I think you're right there. I think since the lockdown, they've come up with some software that you can almost do as an emulator of a robot. Now, what's nice about these is they don't cost that much. You know, so that's obviously before VAT, but it's an affordable robot if you want to do some really exciting and very cutting edge robotics and computing, because this mouth moves. It can even link to the internet, so they've got some code that would link up with a source of temperature, so it could tell you the temperature now in real time. So they're a very forward-looking company. So I think I would probably do that. Thank you for that great question.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for asking that question. Cool.
I've put down the associations there, the Geography Association, the Maths Association, because both of these websites I found to be really useful. So if I'm doing some geography work, I tend to go to the Geography Association and then try and link it to the computing. And obviously we got the Computing at Schools website as well. All the glossary of terms I've done as a PDF, and it took me hours. So please use it. And I must thank a few people that I got some information from. So Pete Dring of CAS and Phil Bagg, has, their content is included. So thank you to them. And that's an example. So these are the posters that Pete Dring has done, and they're all free. And the link I think is there. So I've tried to put all the links in so that you can get the stuff. Now I must mention Project Evolve, which is to do with internet safety. However, at the very bottom, there is an absolutely brilliant glossary, not only of internet safety, but everything to do with the internet, and some quite techie stuff that talks about the way in which stuff is stored and the way in which it's filtered and firewalls. So I would suggest that site, and it's got some really, really good lessons on. Also for very young students, it's got some great resources and ideas. You do have to register, but again, it's all free. Right, you can have a little play now. Hopefully you'll have fun. So what we're going to do is you're going to click on this, and Tim will put it in the chat as well. And what I'd like you to do is just to explore and comment in the CAS chat. Now it's based on the Ordnance Survey maps, so you've only got to either search for a place, or you can type in the six character code for a particular square. Now if you look, I'll just scroll down to the next one so you can see. So this would be a particular square. So I don't know if you can see that, SJ6703. So that's the standard code that's used across the whole of Ireland and England, Scotland and Wales. And it gives you the map, but then it gives you all the pictures that the users have taken in that area. And it's great for history as well. So if you think of Ironbridge, which is in this square, it tells you about the flood barrier. So 3 minutes, clicking on there, either put a name of a place or you can put a code in and explore, and then put some comments in the chat, perhaps about how you could use that with students. While people are exploring, any more questions, Tim, or comments?
Yeah, lots of comments, lots of people really just digging the number of resources that you're sharing, Richard. People commenting on how much time you are saving on people's lives.
Yeah,
The
that's good.
Sharing. A lot of some love for Project Evolve. Thank you for getting the word right about Pico. It's an emulator. That's what someone's trying to find out the words describe what you were talking about. And using things like what 3 words, a really good way of finding a specific place. And another one saying such a fun way to look at a 6-figure grid, look at 6-figure grid referencing. So yeah,
this has been actually out for 15 years. If you actually, after this session, you sort of go down and you this is one I'm going to do a bit later, but you can see I'm a registered user, and I noticed that I was using it 15 years ago in a school in Telford. But the trouble is, I think sometimes there's so many resources and we're so busy that sometimes things, we just miss them. So I would suggest you use this in the new term and share this website with your colleagues back in school. And I've noticed, people, they tend now, because it's a digital world. When I do this in school, I have the physical maps out. So their first job would be to have a physical map, find somewhere they want to visit, find the grid reference, and then go on this. So that's the best way round, really. Or you could do it the other way around. You could do it as a puzzle. So imagine we've got SJ6, 6703. You could then give them a range of maps and they've got to find that particular place, which would be another puzzle that they would love. I found something quite interesting, Tim, while I was exploring this, that like anything else, there's new versions. So there's a new viewer now. So this is version 4, which means you can actually scroll on a tablet. So we haven't got time to really use it much now, but if you've got a tablet, what I would suggest you do is use version 4, because then children can scroll to the left and right and also zoom in and out. And for people looking at this slide, basically you can probably guess it's like a heat map. So the places that have got the redder have got more photos. So it'd be really interesting to go to Anglesey, go across to Dublin, go south, and then maybe take some pictures here and then upload them to Geograph.
A question from one of the attendees. Could you use it to show the contour lines of mountains?
I haven't been able to do it, but there are some Ordnance Survey tools that do that, and they are free. So in this case, here we got Snowdonia here. Now, the only thing that gives it away is you can probably see these are likely to be roads or rivers here. So lots of people have got out their car taking pictures, whereas this bit is likely to be mountainous. And you could argue that this bit might be the peak of Snowdon. So not really contours, but you can sort of find out bits and bobs about the infrastructure. So it'd be quite interesting for you to zoom in and see whether this here was a river or a road, and to see what this. Can you see there's a big cluster? I'm just moving my mouse button of red dots there. So perhaps that's somewhere that could be the top of Snowdon, for example.
Could well be.
So it's really interesting because if you get the children enthused, they can be like detectives, and that's what we want, isn't it? We want them to want to go home and say, why don't we do this to the family, and get into the sort of background of it, like how's it been created, how does it work? So those people who were interested, so you just got to search for me. There's likely to be lots of Richard Smiths, I'm afraid, so you might have to type SJ6702. Notice I don't give away where I live, so that sort of links with e-safety. You know, I don't want every kid coming round to my house. Notice the children and the teachers that this is Creative Commons. There's a Creative Commons license. So by taking this picture and sharing it, I'm giving other people the right to use that. So I've just put that up the top, and that links with Strand 3, digital literacy. So I think it's always worth mentioning. I was looking at an e-safety policy today, funnily enough, this morning. You can see the tab top left, reviewing their e-safety policy, and one of the things that they were talking about in the sort of digital literacy section was Creative Commons. So it's really important. And people making music, they don't want people just going and downloading the music without permission, without paying for it, and the same with art. So Creative Commons is really important. This is something I did yesterday, yes. So this is Scratch Junior, and we were talking about a journey across the ice. I've got something very exciting to show you in a minute, but can you see there's two parts to the journey? So the start and the finish, and then the finish, the polar bear meets a penguin. Now the exciting thing is, last week somebody sent me a link for how to get Scratch Junior on my laptop. So definitely put that in the chat, Tim, because I've been doing it on my iPad for years and years and years and just holding it up to the screen, whereas now I can go to down here and I can show you a journey. So you should hopefully, Tim, perhaps confirm that in a minute you'll be able to see a whale. Can you, Tim, see the whale?
Yes, I can. I can see the whale. Yeah.
Brilliant. So this is the coding I did yesterday, and it was year 2. So I'm just going to show you quickly because it's 5 to 5 already. So when we click the green flag, the whale's going to get smaller. So we talked about perspective, not perspective, size, and then it's going to go forward 20. Now you can put a grid on here. Let me just show you how to do that for those people that don't know Scratch Junior. There's a grid, and if I'm starting on 10:1, then I'm going to whiz across, so it's going to take me to number 1 of the next screen. So can you see it's going to then change the next background? So if I just run that, it's going to get smaller, go across, and then end up there. Now notice that you've got to make, there must be another bit of code in here. Oh no, that's right. That's right. So when I touch the penguin, it should jump up and down forever. That's it. That's it. Yeah. So this is the code for the penguin, and then this is the code for the whale. So notice when I get to background 2, I have to make it small again. It goes back to the original size. Then I wanted it to go right. And then we were talking about distance. So one of the children asked me this. They said, how do you make it look as if it's further away? So you just make it smaller. Okay. So that's the exciting news, that Scratch Junior you can actually get on a laptop, and it works on Windows or Mac. So that's great. That's going to be so good for me because I can start to do more online lessons using this instead of holding my iPad up to the camera. So that's very exciting. And remember, Scratch Junior is free. I promised the children I would show them some of their work. So this is Alexandra and Riley. Hello, Alexandra and Riley, and the teacher, if you're watching. So this is their work from yesterday, where they took a dog on a journey, and it started in the daytime and then it went to nighttime. And I've just put a bit of the vocabulary that we talked about in the lesson. So remember, this is year 2. So we talked about how to program something, how to debug it, how to test the program if it didn't work. We talked about a variable. I spelled variable wrong there, Tim, sorry. Distance and size. So notice all those numbers down the bottom, those are the variables. And then we talked about saving. So for those people that have forgotten or didn't know, you save top right up here. And then they put their name and their partner's name in, because most of them were in pairs, and then they went to there and then go to the home page, and then it saves it. Now in this case, it'll save it on your local drive on my laptop, and the same with a tablet. It works on Android or Apple devices. There's the posters from Pete. Those were the algorithm posters and the debugging posters. So the way that it worked was, luckily, the teacher had got these up in the class before my lesson, so well done to the teacher, Miss Parrish. And there's a little guide to the interface there that you can print out and laminate for the children. Going on to year 3, this is a live project that you can try. So Tim, you'll need to... Oh, I tell you what I meant to say on this one. That's their Twitter link. They're great on Twitter, and that's their website for Appley Wood Primary. And again, Meadows do loads on Twitter, and they've got a blog, so you can have a look at that. So Tim, could you click on that and put that into the chat for me? I'm just going to do it as well, just to show you briefly what will happen. So this was a journey that we wanted the children to go on, and we talked to the teacher about how that journey could be made. Now, it's a journey in several dimensions because it's actually a journey back in time. Now, you can use this project as an example in your school. It's all free, it's all online. So if you click the button, it takes you to a different time period. So this is, I've got the maps up here, just let me have a look when that was. 1903, so it's historically correct. So I took pictures of the maps on my iPad and used them as backgrounds, and then that's a map, up-to-date map. Then that's just to show the children the coordinates. Now, I know in year 3 you don't necessarily do coordinates, but I had to cover that to show them how to move the bus around. So if I want my bus to start in the center, can you see it's 0, 0? Whereas if I want my bus to start further to the left or further to right, let's keep it simple. We'll put a 200 in. It'll take the bus right to the right-hand side. It's 240 units here. I've just got to wait for that to happen. There we go. Okay. And you can, and for the children, I put these little notes in. Let me just get rid of that and show you how I did that. So you right click and you go to add comment, and then I could put in for the children, this is a variable. And I usually put these in capitals. I know it's a bit shouty. This is a variable that you can change. So they chose what size to make the bus. And then, so that's the button commands. And the cat, that was just used as an introduction. So it's very simple programming because it's only year 3, but it gets them into programming, and it gets them into a sequence of instructions, and it does some maths as well. So, you know, if you think of percentages, they probably don't do that till year 4 or 5. So, you know, straight away, we're doing some stuff that's sort of quite, well, it's related to our project, so we've got to cover it. So save that, and you know, you'll have great fun with that. I am going to, while I take the questions, just going to have to go back and scroll through my presentation, I'm afraid. So I'll just take some questions, Tim, while I'm just getting to the right place.
Sure. One comment. So one of the teachers here uses Scratch Junior, and they do Amelia Earhart's Around the World trip using Scratch Junior.
Wow.
Which sounds so
Brilliant.
cool.
That is brilliant. The only issue with Scratch Junior is it saves it to that particular iPad. So you do either have to number them and then give that back to the same child. So I do find that can be an issue. Whereas if you think of this, I've saved it to the web and then you can all access it. So that's the only downside of Scratch Junior, but there's so many positives in terms of Scratch Junior, because, you know, I've had like year ones and doing stuff which I would never have them doing on using what I call grown-up Scratch. The children, some of them, because they knew they were presenting this for me today, so thank you to Meadows, I did ask them to say what they might see from the bus in olden times. And I haven't got the name of the student, but this was one I received. I'm just going to read it in case you can't see it very well. I saw my bus pass the old shaft, Sunday school, mines, train tracks, farms, and all of Ketley, including canals from the past. And they've even done some little pictures there. So I think this can link up beautifully with literacy, and it's almost filling lots of gaps in. You know, sometimes teachers say to me, oh, you know, it's a bit of fun, isn't it, that computing? So what I'm trying to get over to people is that it can satisfy loads of curriculum areas and encourage them to do brilliant writing like that and brilliant drawing. So the idea of the world trip using Scratch Junior is wonderful, perhaps with some writing and some planning as well. That was just the slide so you can see that you can put comments in, and that's what happens in companies, because they'd have a number of programmers. The programmer will be expected to put some comments. So say they left or they weren't there, the person that takes over can see what that line of code does. And there's a wiki here that allows you to search for any particular block. So say you wanted to search for set size, you can search for it and it'll show you some examples. But also the glossary that you've downloaded provides lots of examples, and that's free for you to share. I'm going to ask you to watch a video, and I've got a little bit of an issue because I'm not sure you've got the link, have you? Let me just show you where it is. So people can do this from where they're sat. So just search from a website. In a way, it's quite good because you can actually see all the stuff. So there's the Scratch channel. And that's got over 1,000 projects on. So there's the geography one. But it's got 1,000 projects, and I've started to make a studio called Journeys. So I'm going to put some stuff tomorrow. I'm going to put some stuff in a studio. So it'll be, and I'll try and do this so Tim can send it to you. So it's going to be in a studio called Journeys. I'm just going to come off this because I'm aware of the time. So 1,000 projects there. Well, if you can imagine, I've been doing this for 10 years, so you're bound to have quite a lot of projects. So if you go to the YouTube channel, so perhaps try this from where you're sitting. The video's only 2 minutes, so we should be fine. And Tim, if you could just copy that code, that URL, and it's Amazing ICT Showcase. It's only 1:54. But you can see the stuff. This is what I did this morning. So that was for the school that I was doing the safety, checking their e-safety policy. So it's the fourth one along. Could you just click on it? It's only 2 minutes. So could you watch it all, please, and then pause your video? It's quite interesting, Tim, because there's last week's. Can you see we've got all the stuff from last week as well, including the animation. So people that were here last week, you can see last week's videos as well.
Whilst we're on it, and whilst people are watching the videos,
yeah,
I'm sure I'll intervene with some questions as well.
Great. I'm just going to go back to my presentation. Excuse me. Carry on.
There's a question about when we should switch to regular, as you called it, adult Scratch. Should that be year 3? Should that be year 4? What do you think?
It depends on what experience the children have had, really. You know, those children aptly would. I've been working with them I've been in the school every week for a couple of years, so you know, they're very good at programming. But there's no reason why you can't start, even if children haven't done Scratch before, perhaps start them on Scratch Junior, get their confidence up, and then move them to Scratch. So they could do a bit of both. Or you could have both things going on at once, because you can do similar things. You know, if you think of the example of the round the world trip, that was sorry, I'm trying to multitask here. The round the world trip, that was basically could be done on Scratch Junior or on Scratch, couldn't it? Yeah. I'm just going to have to load my presentation again. The joys of online learning. Now this is where you can check whether I saved it properly, Tim. So there should be hopefully a folder called Geography.
That's absolutely fine. Whilst you're doing that, another of our attendees has pointed out, you know, that with Scratch Junior, there's no logins for year 1 and 2 for Scratch Junior on the iPad, yeah, which is another big plus for simplicity.
Yeah, definitely. So what we're going to talk about is we're just going to look at this Angel Falls. So I'd like you to copy and paste that into the chat, please, Tim. Now there's 900 virtual. You saw in the video the children using Google Cardboard to explore somewhere. But there's 900 places you can explore. So Angel Falls is just one of those 900. So I just want you to just try and click on that and see if you can actually explore. And there should be some little links, little circles, and you should be able to click on those, and it should either ask you a question or it should give you a fact. Is that working, Tim, the Angel Falls?
I'm just in there myself having a look. Yeah, the link works absolutely fine. I haven't clicked beyond the links, you know, the additional materials or the view on webs, but all the links are there. So it should, yeah, it's very thorough. Lots.
Yeah, it's great. It is great. Right, so we haven't got time for you to explore all 900. We're going to go on to number 2, Chroma Key. So you can see behind me, I've got my teddy, no, my polar bear, really. And I thought we could just go to the North Pole and see the Northern Lights. So if you just I'll bring this close so you can see my chair there. That's all my post I've got to tidy up. But behind, hopefully where the green is, you should be able to see the northern lights. And hopefully, as I take it across, you should see a person. Okay?
Yeah, if you could bring it right into the camera, Richard.
Yeah, and then you can take pictures.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is just a bit of green cloth, okay? So it hasn't got to be expensive stuff. It's just easy to set up. And I'm going to show you, if we got time, just some of the journeys that I've taken children on. Before we do this, I'm just going to show you, take you to New Zealand, and I'm just going to bring it in. Now, this is called Quiver Vision, and I've got a swamp bird that you might be able to see moving, Tim. I don't know if you can see it moving.
Yeah, I can. Very, very faintly. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I put some pictures, so I'm going to show you the pictures, but I always like to show things live because sometimes people show stuff and then when you try it yourself, it doesn't work. Time. So there's the swamp bird, and what you can do is you can just color this in. So you go online, find the colors for the bird, and then you color it in the right colors, and you can see at the back even the tree becomes three-dimensional. Not tree, it's a plant with some seeds on, and that's all free. So that's Quiver Vision. I'm just going to cover these two quickly. Now, this is a company that very cleverly have let you explore 3D videos on YouTube. So what you can do is you can scan that QR code, and then on your phone or your tablet, you should usually be able to use your finger, and it'll take you to YouTube, and you should be able to explore on YouTube. Now, this blew my mind. You know, I've sort of got my head around this slightly, this stereo view, so I can sort of move it round. But to be able to do it on YouTube, I thought was incredible. So this is a company who have kindly let me share their stuff. And we're going to send you, they're called Seymour Learn, and we're going to send you a link to it after the session, but it is a subscription service, but they have said you as CAS users can have a discount, and they offer lots of free stuff. So there's another QR code that will allow you to look round the Mayan civilization, and you actually start inside one of these huts, so it's great. I'm just going to show you a bit green screen stuff I've done. This was John Wilkinson's school, and they were going on a trip, a bit like the Dark Materials, his Dark Materials, which you might have seen. And notice they're using green screen there, Chroma Key there. So the children made some models. I took their pictures against a green screen, and then they did their best acting to go on this adventure. So they were in their own adventure. And this scientist, I was really impressed with this scientist. And it just shows you how I did it. So there's the background, and there's the scientist against the green screen. And there's a whole page there that I've done on my website about Chroma Key. This child was going through a wormhole, that's what she called it, into another universe. She had to sort of lie on the floor with the green screen under her, so that I could take the picture. As I said before, I'm really keen on children learning the right vocabulary. So there's some vocabulary linked to green screen and Chroma Key. I try and get the children to do some acting. So this is a drawing they did. I think this was year 3, and basically she wanted to go into the world with her character and play catch. Now, you could only do it using green screen as far as I'm concerned. And she was so excited when I made that actually happen, just make it really small. And that's her own drawing, so it's very powerful. I like the children making physical stuff. So here's some dinosaurs that they made, and then I reduced them in size. They designed their own backgrounds, and then they looked up at the dinosaurs. You can have some fun. So this little boy is holding a green cushion. And because the green, the way the software works is anything green is seen as transparent, you can see through his top there. And there's the original picture. And you can use it for staff meetings. So why not plan a staff meeting for 2021? So these are two teachers on a toy Viking boat with a drawing behind. So this involved 3 layers. So that really brings me to the end of today. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I've just put some more links there for you. And I must say a couple of things. My next session is with the Telford group. We're going to send you the link tomorrow. And congratulations to the person who I do it with, Natalie, because she's just had a baby. So congratulations to Natalie. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you back to Tim and see if there's any questions. And we will send you this PDF after the event.
Thank you. Not too much time to sort of wrap up, but just to say, there's a lot of love for Quiver Vision. Few of the teachers have used it. One's loved the volcano. It's a great one to narrate, allegedly. And a love for Google's Polysite as well. But questions around, does it work across platforms? But I think we will save this for another day, because I think we're at time.
Yeah, you've got somebody who's going to be talking about it on Thursday, haven't you, Pete? So you can provide that link.
So my colleague Will Franklin, actually, he's going to be doing a session on how to run virtual school trips, and it's on Thursday. I highly recommend it. So I'm just going to post the link into the chat. So please have a look at that and sign up. It's at 6 o'clock, so it's a nice early evening event for you. But please sign up to that. Will's really good on green screen stuff. Yeah, so if you want to get lots of tips on that as well, then you can plague him with questions. He's really good on that. Okay, all I want to say is a massive thank you to Richard. As always, Richard, loads and loads of resources, and I'm going to make sure that the presentation is sent to you all separately. And if you have any other comments, Richard, for me to include in that follow-up email, please do let me know. Once this session ends, you will be prompted to complete a quick questionnaire. So please do take the time to leave your feedback. Your feedback really matters to us and helps us to plan and do things better, and that is really important. Finally, I would like to thank you all for coming. This is the last CAS Inspire session of the autumn. And if you want to check out the other CAS Inspire sessions that we've held over the autumn, I will post a link to those in the follow-up email as well. Using my voice. So without further ado, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming. And I hope, and thank you, Richard, and I hope to see you all at a future CAS event. So goodbye for now. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Richard.